Okay, everybody's coming in. Hello, everybody. We're going to take a minute and just let everybody get in and get connected to the audio. So we will be starting in just one moment. Hi, everybody. Feel free to turn on your cameras. We would love to see you. If not, we do understand. But again, we would love to see your faces. Get one more minute, let some people connect. Then we will get started. Hi, everybody. All right. Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us today for our Health and Human Services Committee. My name is Kirby Davis, and I am the Membership Services Associate here at the Chamber of Commerce of the Palm Beaches. Today, we have a very special group. We have Eric Aquino, Community Impact Officer, Kasie, Merical, Donor Relations Officer, and Vicki Pugh, Vice President of Philanthropic Giving with the Community Foundation for Palm Beach and Martin County. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. And with that, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Kirby. And it's great to see so many good friends on the call today, as well as some new people. Although I can't see all of your faces, but I see your names, so I know you're there. And we're just thrilled to be with you today to go through a little bit of a presentation to share how we help nonprofits and other people in our community. Our agenda is right here. We'll introduce ourselves as we go through the presentation. We're going to talk a little bit about what a community foundation does. We're going to talk about how we have grant opportunities for nonprofit organizations and scholarships for individuals. And we're going to talk about how we set up funds for nonprofit organizations and donor advised and other types of charitable giving funds for individuals and foundations. So we can go to the next slide, Kasie. So here's who we serve. Lots of people in our community, donors who seek assistance with their philanthropy. They come to us and we helped them set up charitable giving funds and then grant their funds to nonprofit organizations in the community. We have a lot of different types of funds that help donors as they're planning for their philanthropy. We help family foundations who need some legacy planning, who might need to develop priorities for their foundations. We offer some personalized services to families and to private foundations to help them do their grant making. We also have a great network of professional advisors. These would be CPAs, attorneys, and financial planners in our community that help refer people to us when they need a little assistance with their giving. We help the community in times of crisis. Some people may know we had a couple of crises last year. The Bahamas hurricane that came through, we set up a relief fund for that purpose. And then of course, COVID-19, right from the very beginning of the first week that we were all kind of sent home to quarantine, we set up a response fund, and we work with about 20 other funding agencies in our community to distribute funds to organizations that were helping people in great need. We sent out funds to the community way before the government came in with the CARES dollars, so it really helped nonprofits in a very important time. We can go to the next slide, Kasie. We also serve what we call for impact organizations. So that would be, in other words, nonprofit organizations who seek funding and investment opportunities. And Eric and Kasie are going to tell you a little bit about that in a little bit. We make grants to the community, as I mentioned, in those three areas that you see on your screen. And we also provide scholarships to people seeking higher education. We connect donors to organizations when they're not exactly sure where they want to give. They might have some priority areas. We can help them find the organizations that fit their interests. Kasie will talk a little bit about nonprofit funds and other ways we serve nonprofits. And we, from time to time, offer educational seminars for nonprofit organizations in our community, for professional advisors, for our fund holders. Just when there's a need and there's an interesting topic, we will feature it now virtually, sometimes in person. We can go to the next slide. This is a little bit about our stats. I'm not going to read all of them, but a couple of things you should know. We have about $200 million under management, and that money is what is granted to the community, whether it's a distribution from an endowed fund with us or just a direct giving fund. We also grant about $17 million out a year on behalf of our own endowment funds, as well as on behalf of our fund holders. That served last year 638 unique organizations. So we really touch a lot of organizations in our service area, which is Palm Beach and Martin counties. You can see where our assets are in the various funds on the right-hand side of your screen. I'm going to come back in a little bit to delve a little bit deeper into what a donor advised fund is and how you all as nonprofits can network with some of our donor advised fund holders. But right now I'll turn the program over to Eric Aquino, and he's going to talk a little bit about our scholarship program and our impact area.
All right, so jumping into how we manage grants on the competitive side. So we have an impact investment strategy where we just want to identify the priority issues that the Community Foundation is uniquely qualified to address, because we know that there are a multitude of different arenas that we could get involved in, but we kind of want to look at, you know, what are we best positioned to impact the greatest, instead of you know, going wide and trying to hit everything. What can we really dig into and cause some actualized change in? So if you go to the next slide, you'll see kind of how our grants timeline works. So this is for our competitive grants. So every single year we open up a grant cycle that any and all 501c3s can jump in on, and submitted a letter of interest or an LOI, and then go through our process. We've actually just closed our LOI for this year. And so basically in early December, we open up the LOI. Then in early January, we close it, but then we invite full proposals in February. And then, as you can see, throughout the spring, we do our due diligence with site visits, and then the grant terms are always according to the fiscal year. So they always run from July 1 to June 30 in the year, and you can kind of see how that process goes. We use the platform Foundant for all of our grant applications, and it's a newer tool that we've implemented, and we're really liking it so far. It's really kind of helped us build a better data set for not only reporting, but for all the different aspects of organizations building grants for us. So you can go to the next slide. And just to kind of give you an overview of the types of funding that our impact grants create. So we have two different actual systems of funding divided into depending on your size of organization. So we want to be as equitable as possible. And so we never want to just kind of do grants as usual to the larger organizations that, you know, have proven themselves over time. We also really do want to invest in smaller organizations that are up and coming, that have, you know, unique missions, or, you know, something that fits within the scope of our three focus areas, being community revitalization, post-secondary and career pathways, and positive youth development. And so with that, we have mini grants, and those range anywhere from $500 to $10,000. The application process for that is streamlined, but we line it up with our annual grant making process. And those are for organizations that have an annual budget of $250,000 or less. So again, really for those up and coming organizations. And then we really only make them submit a final report at the very end of the grant term. And then our larger grants, we call them our community impact grants, and those range from above $10,000 to $55,000. Those have a little bit more reporting, and our competitive grants are always on a 1-year basis. So, you know, we really want to kind of not be locked in too much in that sense. So, you know, we always encourage organizations to apply year to year, but we're really looking for organizations that, you know, either are looking for a catalyst for a new program, or are looking to add new wrinkles or improve their existing programs. And so that kind of, makes that distinction. And then if you guys have any other questions about how our grants work, you can put that in the chat. We'll answer those later on in the presentation. But if you ever need any more information as well, you can go to our website, and we'll have a link on that for the slides. And our grants page also has a video that goes into even more detail about how our grants work, how our grant making cycle operates. And then, if you are in an organization that kind of fits outside the scope of our 3 focus areas, don't worry. As you saw on one of the other slides, we've got a lot of funding in the field of interest side as well, which means, those can typically be invitations that we'll give out to different organizations, especially if you're in the arts or if you have animal welfare programs, stuff like that. We really do have the means to help organizations in different arenas, but with our unrestricted funding, we really try to hone in on those 3 areas.
Great, thanks, Eric. Good morning, everyone. I am Kasie Merical. Thank you all so much for joining this virtual setting, and thank you, Kirby and the Chamber, for coordinating this. I think that we have all experienced the pains of virtual meetings, scheduling, and troubleshooting. So it's really deeply appreciated how much you do for us, Kirby, and for our community to be able to convene in this setting, while 2020 and 2021 have been such interesting years for us and hard times. So thank you for all that you do. My role here at the Community Foundation is I work kind of in 2 prongs. So I work with our nonprofit fund holders, and I also work with our family foundation fund holders in managing their funds and getting dollars out the door into our local community. So really, since 2017, our community foundation has been strategically shifting to have more tools in our philanthropic toolbox, to be a stronger resource in our community, beyond that traditional grant making geographically, because we all know, money is important, but it's not everything. Over the next few slides, I'm going to be sharing with you our 2 nonprofit fund types, how they function, why they're useful to a nonprofit organization, and the tools that we've been building and sharing over time with the nonprofit community. So community foundations are often known as the endowment hub for the longevity of a region. One of our fund types that we offer is a nonprofit endowment fund. So this fund is intended for an organization with a long-term mission in supporting our community members and who are ready to make a financial commitment to perpetuity. So we complete a legally binding fund agreement with that organization to dictate how that fund's invested, who from the nonprofit advises grant distributions from the fund, and actions related to the fund depending on the organization's future. So an example that sometimes is nice for a donor to hear is that if they make a gift to an endowment and say 25 years from when the fund is created, the organization is no longer in existence, our board has something called variance power, and that allows us to ensure that those funds are still used for the same mission, the same cause in our community as the original intent. So donors can feel really entrusted and ensured that their gift to support maybe it's animal welfare will continue doing that in perpetuity. It's quite uncommon to see that circumstance happen, but giving that little comfort to a donor about perpetual support and what their donation will do in forever, which is, very hard concept to think about, it can be very comforting. So the minimum to open a nonprofit endowment is a $50,000 investment, and we facilitate a tiered fee schedule starting at $250. The next fund that I'd like to talk to you about is a nonprofit investment fund. And that's a newer and more flexible type of fund for nonprofit organizations. So there's no minimum starting investment. The fee structure is the same as the endowment fund. And the intention for this fund type is to give nonprofits access to investment portfolios without requiring any principal to be locked for endowment. So we are working with organizations who have both specific projects in mind. For example, there's one religious institution that we work with that is working to restore their sanctuary right now. So they're using an investment fund to earn dollars as they build out this project that's going to last many years for their church. And those who just have extra reserves sitting in a checking account that's just not earning dollars and they want to be able to make their money work for them, this is one way that an organization can do that. So in 2020, we saw over $200,000 in distributions from nonprofit funds go out into our community. In the conversations that I've been having with nonprofits over the year, they really look at these funds and they're available to grant balance as both a backup option or an opportunity to receive dollars immediately without having any conditions attached to them. So an example of such is the Center for Creative Education was able to fund half of their Northwood Academy over the summer with just the available to grant balance in their endowment, and the principal still remained intact to continue growing in perpetuity. Also, I'd like to mention, if you have any questions, please feel free to enter them into the chat along the way, and then we'll do questions at the end too. So if you think of something and you don't want to lose it, go ahead and type it in the chat. We won't lose it that way. So organizations really decide to establish endowment or investment funds dependent on their needs and goals. Most often I see and hear the following 3 reasons as to why an organization opens a community foundation fund. So the first is that power in numbers. So having access to professionally managed pool investments give nonprofit organizations entry to a greater rate of return through a large pool. Our outsourced chief investment officer and portfolios are based at Morgan Stanley, and they work closely with our investment committee and finance team to manage that asset performance. Number 2 is technical assistance. Really can't get enough of that in 2020 and 2021, right? So we aim to really take several burdens off of an organization and to be kind of considered a support extension of their team. So the Community Foundation maintains all of their accounting related to the fund in accordance with the Financial Accounting Standards Board. When gifts are received, we execute the gift acknowledgement practices for tax purposes, and the fund holder, aka the nonprofit, can see all the activity 24/7 in their online platform. So additionally, if a donor wants to support the nonprofit with maybe a complex asset or planned gifts, we can help them manage that process along the way. And thirdly, after a year like 2020, we're starting to see more and more conversations in the nonprofit world about how we can diversify income streams to create stability in uncertain times. As mentioned earlier in the call, a healthy nonprofit fund can really generate dollars for the institution that are not restricted and don't have conditions that will consume staff time in the future. Sorry, had to switch slides. So the last slide that I'm going to be covering with you guys is on the nonprofit workshops and engagement that we provide throughout the year. So we focused on educational sessions based around raising assets for our nonprofit community. Planned giving often goes hand in hand with endowment funds. So we offer both trainings and resources for organizations looking to start a basic planned giving program. If that's something that you would be interested in with your organization, feel free to call me or email me or connect with me on LinkedIn afterwards. And we have a planned giving toolkit that could be helpful. And then each year we also host an investment briefing with Morgan Stanley. We invite all of our fund holders to attend together and learn about the investment's performances, market considerations, and future outlook. This is often a great time to bring board members on to get kind of an update of how the fund exists and what it's doing for your organization, and to connect with other like-minded organizations in the community and fund holders. And then during 2020, we really worked closely with our colleagues at Nonprofits First and the Palm Beach chapter of the Association for Fundraising Professionals. We co-hosted these informal meetings that we called Take 60 because it was 60 minutes to take for yourself as a nonprofit professional. It was an informal space that you could gather with nonprofits in our community to brainstorm, vent, collaborate together on the many challenges that we were facing and still are facing. So those were really a quick way to try to bring people together and learn about what people needed so we could pull those resources out there for our nonprofit community. Our nonprofit fund holders also see regular emails from me on what's happening in the philanthropic sector and on Capitol Hill related to charitable giving and how they can work with those incoming changes. So on the screen, you'll see 3 different screenshots at the bottom of several emails that we've sent out just over the past year that talk about things like the Secure Act, CARES dollars that went out the door, resource corners that we would share in our emails. So really trying to find, the really great nuggets of information out there in the nonprofit world to be able to share that with you guys and hopefully give you more useful tools in your work and make it a little bit more efficient for you. And now I'm going to turn it over to Vicki. Oh, Vicki, you're on mute. Heads up.
Story of my life. So Eric talked about our community impact grant making, and Kasie talked about resources available to nonprofits through nonprofit funds. But I'm going to share a little bit about sort of the largest part of our grant making, which comes through donor-advised funds. If you're not familiar with what a donor-advised fund is, this is a great slide to share that visually. The way it works, a donor gives the community foundation a contribution. At the time of the contribution, they get a charitable tax deduction. They put that gift into a fund at the community foundation. We invest that fund for them, so they earn a little interest on that fund. And then whenever they are interested in making grants to the community, to nonprofit or for impact organizations, they let us know, and we write the grant check and the letter to the nonprofit organization. It's pretty simple. But what we also talk about is that we can customize some of these giving opportunities just depending on the donor's needs. What's cool about a donor advised fund, we can go to the next slide, Kasie. It really gives people an easy way to organize their philanthropy. They write one check every year to the community foundation. And then when they're ready, they give money away. There's no time limit on when they need to give those funds away. So they can take their time in deciding what organizations in the community are appropriate for their grants. We write all the checks, we do all the accounting, we do all the administration, so the donor can really enjoy what they love the most about philanthropy, and that's helping nonprofit organizations. And especially at tax time, if you have a donor that might make 30 grants out of their fund in a year, sometimes it's hard to track down 30 charitable gift receipts for your taxes every year. When you use a donor advised fund, you only have one letter and one receipt to use for your taxes. Another thing we offer donors who might not know the community very well, or they have an interest area and they're just not sure what nonprofit organizations kind of meet that interest need. Eric and our community impact team will work with that donor to make sure we match their interests with nonprofit organizations in the community for mutual joy and impact. We also offer donors the opportunity to manage their donor advised fund through a portal we call Donor Central. So they can always have access to their fund balances, and they can just go on there and select a charity and say, I want to give $100 to Peggy Adams Animal Rescue. And we write the check, we send the letter, etc. So it's a really great and easy way to make gifts. And we also offer donors the opportunity to give anonymously. And that's why some donors set up a donor advised fund. They don't want to be very public about their giving, because fundraising professionals like me will contact them over and over again for more gifts. So if they want to remain anonymous, we honor that, and we send all their gifts out anonymously. I think one of the last advantages of our donor advised funds and other types of charitable giving funds is we have investment options. So we have a long-term pool that has a great performance record, but there are 3 or 4 other options that donors might use. So we want their funds to grow. We do charge fees for our services, very low fees, 1% typically on a donor advised fund. That's an annual fee for the administration. But because of our great returns, you can usually cover that fee and more through our investments. One thing we started offering about 2 years ago is for donors to leave their assets with their investment advisors. So they don't have to transfer the asset to the community foundation's funds. They can transfer the asset to a community foundation fund that we established with their investment advisors. And that's become very popular with our donors. We can go to the next slide. So those of you who are like me and have been fundraisers, or maybe you're an executive director of a nonprofit or a board member of a nonprofit, you're wondering, how the heck do I get grants from these donor advised funds? $78 million of the community foundation's portfolio is invested in donor advised funds. So that's a big area of grant making. It's not so easy, but I'll give you a few tips that I've learned along the way during my career. One of the things you can do very easily is promote donor advised funds giving to your donors. You probably have brochures. Maybe you even send out an annual appeal letter every year. You might have areas on your website where you promote giving opportunities to your nonprofit organization. So when you list ways to give, i.e., I can give by check, I can give by credit card, I can send in some stock, you can also say, we would be interested in talking to you about a gift from your donor advised fund if you have one. And if you need some language on that, you can actually get in touch with me. Kasie shared our contact information. Thank you, Kasie, in the chat. It's also at the end of the slideshow, which you will receive. Don't hesitate to shoot me an email and say, hey, can you give me some verbiage that I can use in my brochure to encourage donor advised fund giving? Another thing you can do is just what we do, build a network with professional advisors. They want to know what you're doing. The professional advisors we come in contact with are always interested in learning about nonprofit organizations, what they do and how they serve our community. Because believe it or not, they have clients that come to them fairly often. They need to make charitable gifts. It's part of their financial planning, but they're not exactly sure what organizations to give to. So it's nice when professional advisors know a little bit more about what you're doing in the community, how you're impacting people, how you're making it a better place for us to live and work. So don't hesitate to reach out to professional advisors that might be in your network. And here's a tip. Most of your board members probably have a professional advisor. That's a great place to start. They can introduce you to their own professional advisors. It's pretty simple. And then you can start your networking with them. Another thing you can do is store donor advised fund donors. So let's say you get a donor advised fund gift through my donor advised fund, the Community Foundation. Well, we're gonna send you, the Community Foundation is gonna send you a letter. It's gonna say, the Pugh Family Fund is pleased to grant you a gift of $100. And here's the Pugh family's address, so you can write them a thank you note. Now, here's another tip. Don't send the donor a receipt. They've already received the charitable contribution deduction and receipt when they gave the gift to the Community Foundation. Just send me a nice thank you note and then put me on your list to receive information about the impact your organization makes. You can send me an annual report every year. If I'm supporting a particular program, you can send a brief report of how my money was used to further the cause. You can also send me invitations to event and activities. And maybe I'll come to a ribbon cutting, or maybe I'll come to a reception that you have to introduce a new program. Then you meet me just like you meet other donors, and you can start building a relationship with me. One thing we do advise, some donors like to remain anonymous. So if there's no fund name or just a fund name and no address because the donor wants to be anonymous in the letter that comes with their donor advised fund gift, you might not want to be a little aggressive in developing that relationship. We like to honor the anonymity of our donors who wish it. I think we can go to the next slide. One of our board members oftentimes refers to the Community Foundation as the Swiss Army knife for philanthropy, because as you can see, we have a lot of ways that we impact and help the community through grant making and of course through some other resources. If you go on our website, the name is very easy to remember. It's yourcommunityfoundation.org. You'll get the link. in the emails that will follow up with you and in this presentation. But just so you know, it's pretty easy to remember, yourcommunityfoundation.org. You'll find a host of resources available to you for free. And if you can't find something that you're looking for, again, you'll have our contact information. Shoot us an email and say, do you have this and can you help me? We have a racial equity hub. We've been gathering some great resources in that racial equity hub that you can use with your staff and your board as you're talking about racial equity within your own organization and how you're building that lens into everything that you do. We have a COVID-19 resource hub. It has information on, it has the food map for Palm Beach County. It has some volunteer opportunities on it, things that seniors might need, just a whole host of resources, including some information on grant making that's been happening around the COVID-19 pandemic. From our response fund, the Community Foundation raised about $3.6 million. We've deployed a big part of that, but we have a little less than $500,000 left to grant. So we'll keep you posted. Just keep checking our website for information if we do open up some more grant opportunities through that fund. Kasie talked about convening and leadership a little bit in some of the webinars and in-person events someday that we offer to our community organizations, our fund holders, and other people in our network. We also have some space, again, when we are able and safely to get back together again. We have a beautiful community room that can be used for events and board meetings. If you have a strategic planning session that you might do with your board and staff, just reach out to us. Our fees for rentals are very, very low for nonprofit organizations. We have a kitchen, you can have food and beverage and all that stuff. So again, when it's safe to do so, don't hesitate to reach out to us. On the right-hand side of this screen, you see something called Plan Giving. We have a very robust Plan Giving site. And that's something that I know all nonprofits have on their minds. Hard to get to Plan Giving and build your plan, but there's lots of resources in that Plan Giving page. That's actually populated by Crescendo. Some of you, again, in the nonprofit field might know that organization. They are wonderful at dispersing information on Plan Giving and help organizations build their Plan Giving programs. So you'll see lots of things on that page that you might use for a resource, especially a calculator, a free calculator. If you have a donor that says, I'd like to give you a charitable remainder trust, you can go on there and fill in the donor information and it'll calculate through the annuity rates, the information that you will need to work on that with the donor. And then lastly, I'll mention our newsroom. We have blogs and articles and all kinds of resources in our newsroom that we post very regularly. We send out quarterly emails that we post in there. We post many of the articles from them, and they're all geared toward helping nonprofit organizations kind of navigate our environment. Kasie really said it beautifully when she said, we are all struggling. We're struggling, we're working at home. Most of us are working at home, going to the office infrequently, like lots of you might do. And we're just kind of struggling with that human connection that we all are. One thing I will end with on some very encouraging news is that we've seen a very big increase in gifts through donor-advised funds to nonprofit organizations for COVID response and for annual support and unrestricted support, because donors are seeing that some nonprofits are really struggling. I mean, some of you may have had to shut down or you're still shut down. You've had to alter your services. Perhaps you increased your services or decreased your services. Everybody is really, really challenged right now. So we're delighted to know and to see donors just giving more and more. And all the research is showing that in times of crisis, donors don't give to crisis and then forget their other giving that they typically do every year. They just give more. And again, that's what we're seeing. So don't hesitate to talk to your donors about your needs during this very specific time, especially if you just need some operating support, because we found donors are much more open to that now, given what's happening. We can go to the next slide. I think that's just our website, yourcommunityfoundation.org. Visit regularly. And again, if you can't find what you need, there's our contact information. It's simple to email us. You can call us as well. I know I work really well with emails, so don't hesitate to reach out when we can help, or if we can clarify some things on the screen, because we're here to help you. And I think that's it for our presentation. You will get this again. You'll get the slide deck that will be emailed to you. Thank you, Kirby, for doing that, as well as a little video that we produced that you might want to enjoy looking at. And we'll hopefully hear from many of you as a follow-up.
Thank you. That was so much information. So yes, like they said, I will be sending this to everybody that is on the call today, along with the video that they have shared with me. Again, thank you so much for being here with us today. I do want to invite you to turn on your microphones and ask any questions, or if you feel more comfortable, please put it in the chat and we will answer any of those that you may have. So again, we welcome you to turn on your microphones and get a little bit of human interaction today with us. So does anybody have any questions? And do not be shy.
Okay, I'll jump in. Hi.
Okay, Shelly. Hi, Shelly.
Hi, I'm from Peggy Adams Animal Rescue, actually, and I'm the new Humane Education Manager. So for me, my main question is, I just want to know what my next step should be just to become more familiar with all of you and for you to know more about the education program that we're developing at Peggy Adams.
I'm going to ask Kasie to talk about our existing relationship with Peggy Adams, and maybe that'll help you, Shelley.
Sure.
Hi, Shelly. Thanks so much for being the first one to ask a question. Very nice to virtually meet you. As you are probably aware, Peggy Adams has a fund here with us, and they've been a longtime partner of the Community Foundation for Palm Beach and Martin Counties. We love working with Peggy Adams. We love the work that they do in this community. And we've had them in some events before in the past talking about the work that they do. But Shelly, I think the first step would be probably scheduling a meeting for us to connect with you and probably somebody from our community impact team to hear about the work that's going on in the education program, and knowing how that might align with the work that we do or some of the fund holders that have similar interest in that program. So really hearing about the work that you do is kind of a great first start. So Shelly, I believe I have your contact information from Kirby. So let's connect afterwards and set up a time to maybe do a Zoom call together or a phone call, whatever works best for you, so we can connect.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. And that is why I love these meetings. I love making these connections between people. I see we have another question.
Yeah, I'm Maruti. I'm from Kaiser University West Palm Beach campus. I work in the chiropractic program. We would like to promote healthy lifestyle living through chiropractic. Is there some opportunities to get some funding and do some services to the community? Is there?
I'll go ahead and jump in on this one. Our competitive process for our grant cycle has already begun. So for this upcoming year's funding cycle, not quite, but it's again good for you to just keep us on all of your newsletters. Any organizations here, all of our information is on the slide. So feel free to just add our emails onto your newsletters, specifically mine, since I'm in the grant making space. Just keep us in the loop so we know what's going on and stuff like that. And then also just be mindful of our timeline that I shared. And so, next fall, you can start to really prepare that LOI and that grant application. But then also, again, like Kasie said, it's just good for us to know these things. That way, if we do encounter a donor that's like, I really want somebody that's, promoting, healthy living and get in specific neighborhoods or something like that, then,
Okay.
Us having that top of mind always helps.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I'll be in touch and then follow up. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. And another one. Oh, you are muted.
Sorry. Good morning, all. First, I do want to thank Community Foundation, Vicki Pugh, Kasie, Kirby, and Eric for all that you do. We have been in really turbulent times, but I want to thank you because while the Urban League has received donor funds, I really didn't understand how to really continue and build relationships. So I want to thank you. This has been most helpful. And I see that while there are organizations, while we're in this turbulent time, there are more people that are giving. So my goal is to really learn from you how to continue to build those relationships, how to make sure that we're acknowledging those funders. So any other thoughts about that, whether it's donor advised funds or grants, how to continue to really build on those relationships?
Well, I think you really hit the nail on the head and develop those relationships. And what I've heard and seen is that, again, donors are more receptive right now to requests for operating support. And we all know that's not always been the case. So if you can build a case around whatever's happening in your organization around that you really need the operating support because COVID, affected you in this way, people understand that. And I think people are not necessarily, people, of course, see urgent needs like food and housing assistance and those kind of things. Those are everywhere because those are the most urgent needs. But that doesn't mean, I'm not exactly sure what your organization does, but that doesn't mean if you're an arts organization, they're not going to understand that. If they are long-term donors, and that's what I would say, look at the donors that have been your donors for a while, that you have a great relationship with. Those are the people that will understand how you were impacted. And it might be an opportunity to ask for larger grants or multi-year grants just based on that case for support that you develop around your organization's either response to COVID or effects from COVID.
Okay. And we're with the Urban League, so we do provide
I'm sorry, you
housing.
said
That's okay. You deal with so many organizations.
I was looking up something on our website.
But one of the most important things has been, we have always veered away from the operations, but it's been so needed because while food insecurity has been just huge for us, we've done 5 food drives, and now vaccines for inner city elderly is just a huge effort. So, but thank you, I appreciate it.
And I would say those are exactly the things that will help your donors understand your need, because you're providing some things that many organizations cannot to a group of people who would not be served if you weren't there. So I think you've got some great ways to talk to your donors about that operating support.
Thank you. Thank you, Vicki.
All right, what great questions. Do we have any others? I do want to do some self-introductions with everybody, and that gives you a little time to do your elevator speech to let the people in the audience know what you do, what your company is, and associate your face with your name and your company. That is probably my favorite thing about these, is listening to the speakers and then meeting everybody. So I am going to go down my screen, and I apologize if I say your name wrong. I'm going to start with Judith.
Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. I am Judith Dunn. I am the Director of Business Services with CareerSource Palm Beach County, and we can assist you with your hiring needs at no cost, both for employers and the job seekers. So very excited about what the new year is going to bring and how we can help each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith. And then Patheria. And I know you sometimes have some trouble with your microphone. There you are. Hi. Oh, you are muted.
Yeah, I'm actually in the office today. I've always got something going on, unfortunately, and I got to keep a mask on. Hi, good morning. My name is Patheria Baker. I'm with the Healthcare District of Palm Beach County, and we're the healthcare safety net for Palm Beach County. We operate trauma helicopters. We place school nurses in all the public schools. We operate Lakeside Medical Center, the only hospital in Belle Glade. We operate all the CL primary care clinics. We have a nursing and rehab center. Right now, we're super busy with COVID testing and now vaccinations. And what I wanted to let everybody know, everybody calls us to set up appointments for vaccinations. We do not set up appointments for vaccinations. That is the county. But if you have anyone who still needs to be tested, they can call 561-642-1000. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. And thank you for coming. All right. I'm sorry, Sulan Johnson?
Yes, thank you. Good morning again. I'm Sulan Johnson. I'm the VP of Development and Communications at the Urban League of Palm Beach County. We provide youth education, housing, and employment programs and services to low to income moderate residents throughout Palm Beach County. My role, of course, is development and raising funds. And again, we've been spending a lot of time with the COVID relief testing, and now we're looking into vaccines, collaborating with other agencies, but more importantly, food drives so that we can really address the immediate need of those individuals. So that's really brief, but we are looking forward to getting back in the schools to really help our middle and age kids in the STEM world to find new careers. So thank you.
Thank you. Shelley.
So hi, I'm an education manager at Peggy Adams Animal Rescue League. I was actually hired in April, pretty much April 1st, the day of the official shutdown, and did my HR paperwork and was given a laptop and sent home to build an education department from scratch. So I have this beautiful blank canvas that I've been trying to fill and develop, as we move forward. So I'm looking to meet different people in the community, to partner with different types of programming. Informal education is my background, so we're going to be looking at everything from camps to after-school programs to clubs, school programs, both virtual and in person. Anything that we can do, I'm totally open to ideas as well as great collaborations. So that's me.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Shelley, and congratulations on your position.
Thank you.
Maruti.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for all the nice presentation. I am a professor at Kaiser University, College of Chiropractic Medicine on West Palm Beach campus. We train chiropractic students, so they get Doctor of Chiropractic degree, and also research chair for the department. So we do some research, how chiropractic is beneficial, and we also want to promote healthy lifestyle changes. And I'm also a yoga teacher. I teach yoga in the libraries, Palm Beach County libraries, and in the community too.
Wow. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining. Roxanne.
Good morning. So nice to see everyone. I'm Roxanne Jacobs, and I'm Executive Director of Grandma's Place. And we're an emergency shelter for abused and neglected children. And we also run a family support program, which provides respite care for children with disabilities up to the age of 12. And thank God we're doing that, because right now we have no foster kids and haven't for like maybe a week. But we're providing over 500 hours of respite care per month. And we could probably do 6 if we had the money to do it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining.
Oh, my pleasure.
Marcia.
Hi, I'm Marcia Martino. I'm the Executive Director at NAMI Palm Beach County. We provide education programs, support groups, and advocacy for people who are living with mental illness and their families. It's been a pretty interesting year for us. We're still providing all of our services, actually more services than usual, although the vast majority of what we're doing is virtual. I'm sure you've all heard what a year for mental health this has been. So it's been busy for us, and we've had to readjust how we deliver services, but we're still able to reach a lot of people. Typically, our constituency is predominantly people with serious mental illness and their family members. And for those folks, it's been a very difficult year. Our county, our state has extremely limited resources for people with mental illness. We're last in the country in access to mental health services. And with the virus, it has closed state hospitals. They're open now, but very difficult to get into. It's been an issue in the jails. The jails are the biggest deliverer of mental health services in our county. It's hard to get into jail. It's hard to get into a state hospital in places we've always tried to avoid in the past. So we work a lot with the addiction world. We work a lot with the criminal justice world and the homeless world. And unfortunately, we're interacting a lot with them these days. And it's so sad to me that people can't even get those services. So it's really, it's a pretty difficult time for people.
That is very true. And again, thank you so much for joining us today. And then last but not least, I'm sorry I don't know your name, but Path to College.
Good morning. My name is Anthony Averso. I am actually the academic director at Path to College. So we are a group that works with students who are in low income settings and are very high achieving. So the goal is really to take these students and get them full ride scholarships into a high achieving and a highly competitive university of their choice, and then really have them come back to the community and work on breaking that poverty cycle. So that's what we do. We are actually launching our internship program in a couple of weeks just to expose these students to additional careers, because these students are told from right at the bat, there are 3 careers that exist: doctor, lawyer, engineer. So the goal is to hopefully break that cycle and expose them to a wider range of opportunities out there.
Wow, that is wonderful. And again, thank you for joining. I believe that is everybody. Please speak up if I missed you, but I think that's all that I see. I do see that almost everybody has their cameras on, and I love that. Roxanne, if you could turn yours on, I would love to get a picture that we could post that goes out in our chamber update every Thursday. I write an article, and I would love to add this picture with everybody's faces. So if I could get a big smile from everybody. Hold on just one moment while okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Oh my gosh, okay, that looks so good. Thank you all so much. And thank you, Kasie, Vicki, and Eric for joining us today and being such wonderful speakers. And like we have mentioned before, you will all be getting a video recording of this presentation, the PowerPoint, and another video that they have provided for you all. If we do not have any other questions, I will not take up any more of your time. So thank you all so much, and I will see you next time at our future events. So bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you, bye.